ओके, आई होप इट्स विजिबल।
जी।
ठीक है, सो कल हमने क्या किया था, हमने एक सिंपल एंगुलर एप्लीकेशन को क्रिएट किया था, राइट? तो मैंने वहाँ तक अपने सिस्टम में भी कर लिया, और आई एग्जीक्यूट द सेम कमांड एनजी सर्व। तो देखो मुझे ये इशू आया था, सेम वही, कि कैन नॉट लोड रनिंग स्क्रिप्ट डिसेबल ऑन द सिस्टम। सो कल तुम्हारे सिस्टम से मैंने एक फाइल डिलीट करवाई थी, इससे मैंने स्टेप
जी।
फॉलो करा और एप्लीकेशन अप हो गई। एंड यू कैन सी दिस इज द व्हाट यू कॉल होम पेज और लैंडिंग पेज। ओके, तो अब इसमें
जी।
कंटिन्यू करते हैं। सो लेट्स सी वन थिंग कि फाइल्स इसको बंद कर देता हूँ मैं, इसकी जरूरत पड़ेगी क्लिप्स की। लेट्स क्लोज दैट। अब हम VS कोड पे काम करेंगे, और यहाँ पे भी देखो बहुत सारे फाइल्स एंड फोल्डर्स हैं।
जी।
सो फर्स्ट होमवर्क इज फिगर आउट यूसेज ऑफ ऑल मेंशन्ड फाइल्स। ठीक है, और इसमें तुम देख सकते हो कि मल्टीपल जेसन फाइल्स हैं, जेसन जेसन जेसन। तो जितनी फाइल्स हैं दिख रही हैं, फ्रॉम हेयर टू हेयर। ओके, एंगुलर जेसन से ts config डॉट spec डॉट जेसन, इन सारी फाइल्स का यूसेज चेक करो और मुझे कल बताना कि इनका यूज़ क्या है। चाहे लिख लेना, मैंने कहा इसको याद करना है, इसे कहीं लिख के रख लो। चाहे
जी।
कॉपी पेस्ट कर लेना। सिंपली पूछो चैट जीपीटी से यूसेज ऑफ एंगुलर डॉट जेसन, कॉमा लगा के पैकेज डॉट जेसन, एंड देन पैकेज जेसन करके जितनी फाइल्स है सबके लिख दो, कॉमा लगा के, कॉमा कॉमा कॉमा, एंड व्हाट द यूज ऑफ दिस फाइल्स इन एंगुलर प्रोजेक्ट। एक क्वेरी में सब कुछ आंसर मिल जाएगा। यू वर सेइंग समथिंग कि चैट जीपीटी में लिमिट वगैरह होती है, राइट? वो तो लिमिट है सबके
जी।
पास। सो क्या करो, स्मार्टली क्वेश्चन करो उससे। एक ही क्वेश्चन में मल्टीपल पार्ट्स कर दो कि मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है, देन ए पार्ट, बी पार्ट, सी पार्ट। वो स्मार्ट है, वो सब समझ जाएगा कि यू आर आस्किंग सब मल्टीपल क्वेश्चंस। सब मिल जाएगा तुमको। हेलो हाय नहीं करना उस पर, सीधा बस टू द पॉइंट बात करो, और अपने पॉइंट्स को, अपने जो क्वेश्चंस को पॉइंट्स दे दो कि 1 पॉइंट, 2 पॉइंट, 3 पॉइंट, तो उसमें सब मिल जाएगा तुम्हारे। सो इट विल सेव यू, यू कैन से नंबर ऑफ हिट्स टुवर्ड्स द चैट जीपीटी सर्वर। जस्ट अ सजेशन, अभी के लिए नहीं, कभी भी काम करोगे उसके लिए, जब तक फ्री नहीं करता। अब डेफिनेटली अभी तो फ्री नहीं करने वाले हैं नहीं वो लोग। सो वो तो
बिल्कुल।
ऑनवर्ड पास, वो तो और अच्छा फेमस हो रहा है। सो सब, एवरीवन विल चार्ज फॉर इट। ठीक है, तो इनको सर्च करो एंड लेट मी नो टुमारो कि इनका यूसेज क्या है इन फाइल्स का। अभी वापस जाते हैं। द मेन इंपॉर्टेंट फोल्डर इज SRC। अपने को सिर्फ इसी फोकस करना है, SRC में। ठीक है, एंड रिमेंबर, इन Maven projects we tend to have Maven dependencies, रिमेंबर?
जी। जी।
उसमें एक पॉम फाइल होती थी, उसमें हम लोग डिपेंडेंसी
हम्म।
सेट करते थे। सेम यहाँ पर एक फाइल होती है, पैकेज डॉट जेसन। इस पर डिपेंडेंसीज यहाँ पे लिखी हुई है, देखो ये लिखी हुई, बिकॉज इट्स अ जेसन फाइल। जेसन फाइल क्या होती है किरण?
जेसन, लाइक इसको क्या कैसे एक्सप्लेन करूं, बट हमने लाइक वो इसमें ही किया था ना, लाइक वो इसमें क्या, पोस्टमैन में हमने यूज किया था, पर लाइक इसको एक्सप्लेन कैसे करूं मैं, थोड़ा लाइक वो और।
एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ेगा एट सर्टन मोमेंट। ट्राई आउट करो, जेसन क्या होता है। हिंदी बताओ, चलो इंग्लिश छोड़ो।
जो एग्जैक्ट वो नहीं आ रहा है सर एक्सप्लेन करने
अरे
को।
भाई ऐसा मुश्किल होगी। लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल डिपेंडेंसीज, इट्स अ फाइल फॉर्मेट विच कीप्स की वैल्यू पेयर्स, बस।
या कि
है ना?
ओके।
और क्या करता है, ये तो करता है, इट्स अ फाइल फॉर्मेट विच कीप्स की वैल्यू पेयर्स, एंड वी कैन ऑल्सो प्रेजेंट ऑब्जेक्ट्स इनटू इट। अभी तो सिंपल जेसन फाइल है, बहुत डीप, बहुत ही कॉम्प्लिकेटेड जेसन फाइल्स भी होती हैं एज पर रिक्वायरमेंट।
हम्म।
सो अल्टीमेटली दे वर्क इन की वैल्यू पेयर्स, एंड लिस्ट ऑफ ऑल डिपेंडेंसीज which are part of, or not part of actually, which are included by default in Angular project when we built it. uh, Built it, ठीक है? So this is what it do. So we can see list of files in it. Okay, so like we had multiple tags there, you can also find out these dependencies. So because it has a different structure, that's how you have to mention every single library. You have to mention it goes like this way: some at, then Angular. If you are using Angular library, then part of it, and then the version. These are versions. You can clearly see, right? These are versions. Some
Okay.
extra files are there apart from Angular library, rxjs, tslib, zone.ts, zone.js. So these are the dependencies which we can see in default uh, project. Okay, so this file is similar to pom.xml.
No, yes.
Okay, and one was maven dependency in that project where you can see list of files, right? Lots of jar files. Same is here, node modules. So, but you won't, because that was Java. But here we have a JavaScript framework or project. So you will see multiple other files. These are things. Distribution, and then you will find here some JS files. .js, .js, .map, .js. Okay, this kind of files you will see here. .ts file, .ts file. So likewise, you can open any these kind of packages, not actual packages, but directories. And here you will see also lots of JS files, just JS files. There was Java file, it is JS files, JavaScript files. So where you can find that under node modules. So we have to focus on only three things: node modules, src, and package.json for initial classes. H2 node modules, src, and package.json. So for initial classes, these folders or directories are important. Okay, let's expand this src. So if you expand src, you will find multiple things. Let me show you again. This is dot edit, so don't get confused with directory structure. If I expand, there are lots of files inside it. Let's just focus on src. src. Okay, it's still here. So whenever you work in any project or in a different language, make sure that structure is clear to you. Project structure, that is really important part. So in src we have this. So app, assets, then some icon, index.html, main.ts. Okay, fine. Let's go back and expand app folder. So app has multiple files into it. So this is from app. Okay, this is inside app. Okay, let's see what's inside asset. So asset has some dot keep file, but nothing extra, and that's it. So this is the complete uh, structure of src folder till here. Okay, so this is a really important place because ultimately the development goes inside the src, right? In Java, we have to work everything inside or put everything in src folder. Same way in Angular, everything goes in src. Src stands for source folder or something you can call it. Okay, so the important part here is this app folder. Asset is nothing, just a place where you keep all the um, you can say some images you can put or some kind of icons or some configuration file sometimes, not actually configuration file, but mostly we keep images and some other files, properties file maybe sometimes. And some icons is there and index file is there. So let's start with index, then we will open these files. So at the root we have, at the root of src, we have index file. So you can see what's written inside index page. Can you see?
जी HTML से start
Simple
हुआ
HTML
था.
code, है ना? Just a simple HTML code. Chalo, let's see what it has. Okay. So if you notice, this is the thing. Apart from that, it's just a HTML tag, then header tag, body, and then HTML tag. So everything inside body goes on web page, correct?
जी.
So body has one tag inside it. Name is app root. Okay. So we have something strange about it. This is not HTML tag, by the way. Okay. It's not HTML tag. It is something. Let's discuss again here. So it says app root, and But where is that app root? So definitely it must be somewhere in app. Okay. So expanding app, and I'm going to open its HTML file. Okay, it's a big HTML file. So it's hard to see what we are looking for. So ignore that. Let's open CSS file. CSS file is empty. Great. Okay, nothing for us. Spec file, it has some file. By the way, .spec.ts file is for test cases. At this moment, we are not going to write any test case, so ignore this as well. So CSS is empty, spec file is empty. We are left with HTML, which has lots of content. We will see that what is that. And the last is app.component.ts file. And if you open this, we might something see. See, app hyphen root. Can you see this? App dot hyphen root. So this is selector, and we call this that's a Angular selector. And whatever the name of your Angular component is, this is actually part of component. Component has selectors. You can say this is like a pointer or a reference variable, like we create in Java. No object we tend to create. So you can treat this kind of object which is referred from index.html within a HTML text. So this file I can copy, paste here, and now it is clear that that thing was actually a component which has been used in a different file. That's not actually a different file, that is a different format file, TS file. So it's coming from right here. Okay,
There.
okay, this is the thing. And now we are pretty much clear that what we are including in our HTML index page, index.html page, the selector, this part. है ना? And if you see the other things inside a component, component is just a, you can treat component as a Java class, a new Java class. Okay, like in Java we create multiple Java classes like user class, employee class. So in Angular we create components. Name is different, and here we call this component. But this time component will have multiple files into it: CSS file, HTML file, spec file, and TS file. Every single component will have these four things most of the time. Clear? So it's like a Java file, and whatever selector you have, these gets referred to index page. Okay. So when we call this, it is actually referring to that TS file. It's here, and when it has selector, it goes to the next thing. That once you are pointing to this, selector will call the template, like which HTML template is has to be called. So when you have app root, this actually calls to app component HTML. So that's how your HTML page gets called. Okay, so let me show you one interesting thing here. On our root page, when we executed this localhost 4200, it gives us this page, correct? It says resources. Let me copy this line, resources, a word, going back to the HTML file, and let's search it. See, it's right here under H2 tag resources here. Let's say I'm going to change it, okay? My resources. Good thing is it won't take much time. As soon as save it, Angular will change the detect and load the changes, okay? So I just wrote my in capital and Control S. You can see something happened here, and if I go back, see it becomes my resources. So is it clear from where all these data is coming up? It's coming from this
Components.
HTML page. It's coming from here. And how this page is called? From here, approot. And how approot is called? From index page.
Index.
So initially index page gets called. Inside body we just have a selector. On the base of selector, it goes check where it is called, and selector must have some HTML page. So whatever the HTML page is there, it gets called inside it, and then whatever content you have in your index file gets called. Clear? If you want to say something else, let's check. Let's say love Angular. Copy it. Let me search here. There it is. Let me put some question marks, multiple question marks, and you will see as soon as I save it, something will load at the bottom. Yes, it was too fast. And if I go back, you can see multiple question marks here. Okay,
Mm.
so this is a page that's great and it is working fine. Let's do one thing, okay? Um, I'm going to remove this whole code. Yes, okay. I remove every single thing empty. I emptied the file. I saved the file. And if I go back, see, it becomes empty. Okay. Now, how to print something like earlier we did kind of hello something. Let's do same thing here. Okay. So going back to its ts file. You can see what's the title here.
Training.
Okay, after the component, okay, I forgot to mention, once you are selected with this whole thing done, it will also check does it have a class or not. So right now we have a class, and that's how in Java we tend to write public class and the class name, correct? Here we
Okay.
tend to write export class
What?
and class name. So this is our class name, app component. Okay, so inside this class, what we have? A variable. Variable name is what? Title.
Training.
Okay, so I can use this variable in my HTML file. How? By using interpolation. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to, this is a HTML file, so I can use h1 tag, right? So h1 tag is here, and here I'll say welcome to. Then I will use interpolation tags. These are tags, double quality braces, and whatever the value were there, I can use here as this title. Done. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now if I go back to my browser, see welcome to, and this is coming from the class here.
नहीं एक बार फिर लाइक डबल डबल कर्ली ब्रैकेट्स का
Don't worry, I'm going to write it again. Hold on. So we just learned one thing which is called that interpolation. Okay. So this is the very first topic from uh, Angular. And what about TypeScript? TypeScript पढ़ा?
और टाइपस्क्रिप्ट पढ़ा
क्या क्या
जी
टॉपिक पढ़ा बताओ उसमें से?
टाइपस्क्रिप्ट का लाइक ये इसमें लाइक हमको वो इन्हीं लाइक सम कीवर्ड से इसको लाइक दिया तो लाइक वो डाटा टाइप नहीं लिखे तो भी इसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता समथिंग
हम्म.
उसका फीचर है और एनी है और अननोन रहे तो वो भी नहीं डाटा टाइप भी लिखना भी नहीं पड़ता और समथिंग इसके फीचर्स होता है सो
ओके. ठीक है. पढ़ो थोड़ा और उसको टाइम दो. ये नहीं कि एक चीज़ बंद तो दूसरा बंद को बंद कर दिया. इतना नहीं, इतना से काम नहीं चलने वाला.
हाँ जी जी मैं देख रहा
थोड़ा और पढ़ो. Okay. So what we just did, we did only two changes in our code. Topic is interpolation, and it simply reads data from your TS file. Actually यहाँ नहीं, इसको ऊपर लिखते हैं, इसको नीचे लिखते हैं. This is how it works. Fourth image and done. So interpolation will read data from your TS file. So whatever value you have in your, and you want to print it dynamically, so you can have it by using variable name. So what we used a variable title, and we gave some string. We don't see, you haven't mentioned anything or type about what type it has. So by default it knows that's a string type. So you don't have to give the type explicitly. It can get it by default. And if everything goes fine, we should get this message. Okay? And,
नहीं ये टाइटल हमारा ऐसा ऐसा नहीं कि कोई क्या कीवर्ड है समथिंग ऐसा तो नहीं है ना तो इसने ये
नहीं, वेरिएबल था ना मैंने से, इट्स अ वेरिएबल.
ओके ओके ओके
ठीक है, मैंने इसको चेंज किया.
इसने यहाँ से रीड किया ओके
तो इसको ऐसे लिखना गलत हो जाएगा. लेट्स से माय ट्रेनिंग नेम. ओके, अब ठीक है. ट्रेनिंग नेम one. My training name, copied, saved, and then HTML. And you can see as soon as I change it, it gives me error because अब वो title तो रहा नहीं यहाँ पर. So add this one. So when I do this, it is successful. And if I go back, again coming up. ठीक है? So it's just a variable name. Name it anything, doesn't matter.
जी जी
So what we learned? Interpolation. So interpolation को अगर term में clear करना हो, one statement. So used for displaying dynamic data on HTML page. Pages are static pages. They don't have anything which can be used to show dynamic data. So if you want to put or print any dynamic value, you go for Angular page. Angular is famous for single page applications, right?
Okay.
On a single page you can create multiple things. You don't have to refresh things. On a single page you can show lots of data. So that's how it works. Okay, एक दो और चेंजेस करके देख लेते हैं. Let's say I need to create some function. So going on TS file, in Java we call that methods. In JavaScript we call this functions, or TypeScript functions. Okay, so you can also
Okay.
create functions inside it. So I'll create a simple function. Let's say get value. That's the function name. So function name, you don't have to like public void something something. No, you don't need that. And curly brace
Mm.
open and close. And here I'll say return double quotes my first function. That's what I'm returning from here. So you just have to call this function in your HTML file. How to do that? Simple. Just in another tag, let's say h1 tag, one more h1 tag, and here I'll say not something else, let's just say get value function. That's it. So what is that get value? It's here, get value. So I can directly call function right from here. Okay, it's possible.
Mm.
And if I go back to file, oops, I forgot to put interpolation. Okay, otherwise it will get as a string. You need this for dynamic values. If you want to fetch anything dynamic, make sure that content is inside interpol this curly braces.
Got it.
And see, my first function is coming up. It's from again here. So I can copy this code, classic. So this is again from app.component.ts file, app.html. And inside this HTML, what I just did, just two lines inside uh, header tags. That's it. And if everything goes fine, we should get a simple message on web browser. But make sure your server is running. Okay, otherwise ये change नहीं होंगे. फिर you have to then you have to check whether where the content is going on. Okay, so now we can see we can write simple variables, or we can also create functions as well, but where it goes inside TS file. TS stands for TypeScript, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what about some mathematical operation? If you want to perform some mathematical operation, yes, it's possible. Let's go back again. TS is a place where you write the whole logic stuff.
Okay.
So let's say I want to print some uh, okay, not here, even you can do this right away inside HTML file. Interpolation, and let's write 2 plus 3, it becomes 5, right? No error
Yeah.
during build, so it's good. If I go back, see, 5 is printed. So it can also detect the changes. Let's put this in tags so things will be more bigger. So h1, okay, so this is also clear. Let's do the change, and you can see 5 is coming up. And if you want to put some message, you can say 2 plus 3 equals 10. Here it comes. And so whatever you put outside of those curly braces, it becomes static, and inside these double curly braces, it becomes dynamic. Okay, great, it's working. What if I want to print some uh, Boolean values? So let's type that as well. So I'm going to create some, let's say, number equals to 10. Okay, so I just create a variable number 10. Now we'll use this as a validation. So I'll say h1 tag again, then curly brace, and say number equals to 10. Okay. Oops, the typo, number. Okay, and you can see it says true. Yes, it's true. If I make it 11, file saved, false. Can you see the difference?
Mm.
Okay, so that's how you can also uh, do some kind of cross-checking or Boolean values. What about if you want to work with uh, I think this is more than enough for initial class. So what we let me put this whole thing on again on paint. So are you getting what's happening here? What change I'm
Yes.
doing, where I'm doing? So at one moment you will see, you will figure out that Angular is simple. Suddenly when you goes off focus, you will see it becomes tough. So you have to do this regularly. The programming dot component dot html dot html, and inside html we have some tags, some more enhanced code. So what we just focused on, the types, variables, and functions. It is working fine. Let's copy this. It goes here. Okay, this is here, this is here, and this goes here. Okay, fine. So we have some basic idea how we can or where we can write the codes. Now, next, what if I want to create, so right now I'm going to show you something like component, like how to create components and how to work with those component files. Okay, so let's do that. Giving you some homework as well. Just a minute. This goes here. Next question, second question is check out this question. What is component in more detail, like a theory based? And you can refer the Angular website, the official website. It has lots of content. So what is component? Um, I'll say some more thing about like say module, component, module, and definitely class. Okay. So in terms of Angular, so just write same way in Google or wherever, whatever you want to do. Search this way. What is component, module, and class where in Angular? Because we know what is class in Java, but in Angular we don't know yet. So figure this out. More or less it's same. The syntax is different, but yeah, once you have a class in Angular, you can create variables, methods, blocks, everything is possible. Even constructors. Remember constructors in Code Java?
Yes.
Same you can do here as well. You can have everything like we did in Java. So that's why it's simple if you know Code Java basics. Okay, next topic we are going to discuss is component. Like what is component? Components. So components like in simple words, building blocks. Building block for specific functionality. So think about right now when we did some programming in Spring Boot, we created multiple packages, controller, service, repository. What are the purpose of these packages? Tell me in your words.
Mm. Or like we can make classes in them, and we can use those for integrating like
Mm.
those
Integrating APIs
classes. Mm, yeah, in
or
APIs
writing APIs
and
initially. But
yeah,
if you see, controller has a specific functionality. It takes it. We tend to create endpoints inside it, correct?
yeah,
In service layer, we tend to write business logic. Repository is for database connection, right? So
yeah,
there was a
yeah.
specific functionality attached with them. Same
Mm,
way, take these components as well. So when you create any component, so they are specific for some functionality. If you want some functionality to be done, so where you will write that inside a component. Okay. So thing is now next question is then how do we generate these components? Again, there are certain commands. Okay. So what you can do, I'm writing command for component generation. So it goes like ng command, then generate, then component, then something, let's say I want to work for login. So login functionality I want to work. So login. So what will happen? Once this command goes off, it will create again four files. What four files? Same like we saw here. CSS file, HTML file, spec file, and TS file. So for every component, you will see these four files. Clear? And
अरे मॉड्यूल डॉट टीएस लास्ट का क्या है?
module का भी नहीं पता. Later we'll do that.
ओके.
Okay, we'll do that. So this is the command. Or if you want to write in a simplest way, it has a shortcut as well, shorthand commands. So you can write again ng, G for generate, C for component, and write login. Okay.
जी.
So usually if you are experienced developer, definitely you are not going to write everything by your like generate command this way. So usually we write ng, G space C space and the component name. So login is enough. So what will happen? It will create a new component in our project. Fine. Um, Likewise, if you want to create some other, you can say modules or something, you can also do the same way. So let's do this. Let's run this command directly. Okay. So copy it, going back. So right now service is up or server is up for Angular. So I have to stop it. How to stop? Control C. Okay. Control C and service gets stopped. Clear?
जी.
Now next question is where to create this component, right? That's one question. Where you can put this component. So that should be inside app or parallel to app. Like you can put this inside here or parallel to app like src then login. So I will go inside till src. So I'll say cd then src. Okay. So I'm inside src. Now I'll write that command and enter ngc login and enter. Oops, my bad. Let me type it ngc space and login. There was some next line as well. Okay. So it should generate a component with login inside src. So we have right now app and asset here inside src, right? Only two folders. Let me put
जी.
a enter. So you will see Angular will treat this and it says could not find something. Couldn't find ng module. Skip import option to skip importing in ng module. Okay. So it is suggesting some command. Let's do that. It says use this skip import. I'll tell you that later. Paste it and command again. And you can see one more folder is created, login, right? And
ओके
if
जी.
you expand, again four files. So see whatever name you will give, it remains there. Then it will add dot component dot cs, dot component html, dot component spec file, dot component dot ts. So your name will be there. Then it will append this thing by default. Can you see? Okay. So next thing is how to call this, right? That's one big thing. How to call this component in your call, because right now we just have a class. Think about, you just created a class, but unless you create its object, you cannot call anything. Likewise, you have to do something like this way. So what I will do, I will go back. Tell me how I call that app file because of its selector,
या
right?
सेलेक्टर.
This selector. So I call that app root inside HTML like this way. So can I call its selector? It means login selector. Let's see what's its name. It's app hyphen login. I know. So
हाँ जी.
let's copy this. Let's try this in index page. I'm going to call this on index page. Let's see if it works or not. So paste this and this. I did that. Now let's run the command. Ng serve. Enter. Okay, this might take some time. And you can see it's already up. So CSS is empty. HTML has just one line. Login works.
Mhm.
Spec file has some default test cases, so you can ignore that. And TS file, same stuff. Selector, when this selector gets called, it will open this HTML page and some default CSS file. And class is empty. Service is up. Let's see what it shows. Enter. Nothing is happening, right?
Yeah.
Trying multiple times. Nothing is happening. Okay. So you mentioned one module file. Let's see that module file. Hmm. So this is structure and there it is. So what happens inside this module file? Can you see? It
App
is
comp-
calling that app component here, right? The same component we just called, it is actually called here. What is here? This is the class. So when you have a module, every Angular comes by default with a module. So every class should be imported there. So what we just said, we created a Java class, sorry, a Angular class inside a component file in a TS file, and that class should be imported inside this module file. So it is mentioned here. But if you notice for login, it is not imported, right? So what I will do, I will stop the service. I will drag this login folder and put it inside app. Okay. I'm just you can just give you idea. So what structure I have right now? src contains app, app contains login. Okay. And what I will do, TS file name is login component. I'll copy this file, open the module file, and here I'll declare it. Declaration login component, and here you can see it is imported. See, it's similar to Java. There will also be import thing. Import some class from this package. So we are
yes.
importing this from directory login slash login component, and it's done. Okay, so let's run the service again. ng serve. Okay, let's see. Still nothing is coming up. Correct. So the issue is we tried to call this app login where on the home page. So this is the wrong place. They should have only one app root, which is the you can say root of your Angular file. So right now app root is the or app component is the root folder or root component. So every component should go inside it, not outside of it. So we will go inside a app component. There it is, TS file and um, HTML, and then I can call this right here. Okay, so I'm calling app login inside this file.
Mhm.
Let's see, does it make any sense? And yeah, see, login works now. This message is coming from the HTML file. So I did multiple tries in front of you to show you where exactly the file goes.
Mhm.
So let me summarize. When you create an Angular project, by default, app is a root component. And this app root component is called inside a index page, index.html. There it is. So don't touch or don't ever touch this index file unless it's really important. This remain intact. We never touch index files. It remains as it is. So from index file, which is the home page of your web project, it remains intact, and this should call one Angular component, which will be treated as a root component. From that root component, you can call multiple files. As a beginner, that's a suggestion. But definitely when you grow with experience, you can definitely play around with multiple things. Clear? But as a beginner, never touch index file. Just keep it as it is. Just have idea, okay, this is the root file or root component which is called, and I should put everything inside that root component like we did in here. This is how it works. Usually we don't write this kind of code, right? Just to demo you, to give you idea how TS file works with HTML file. I gave you idea, but typically we call multiple components in a root component. So login is one component. Think about I'm going to work on some register component, logout component. So I'll get multiple folders inside here, and all those components, if required, can be called on root component. So this is a place we should call it. And yeah, every time your component gets created, make sure the entry should go inside a module file like this. So this is the app root module file where we explicitly mention that this is my class and it should get imported if so if there any functionality that will work. So what we just did in app component file, we called this selector, that's app login. So as soon as Angular sees that, it checks where the file is, it opens it, checks its TS file, it says okay, there's app login. So which page it has to load? Login component HTML. So it goes back and checks the HTML, and it has login works. So whatever content you will have in that HTML, you will see that in HTML file, it comes up and loads here. Login works. Clear?
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will see some more changes, and maybe if if you able to understand whatever we did today, so we can do some form handling as well. Clear? Any question or doubt? Say.
लाइक हम
हम्म,
ये HTML और CSS लाइक हम अलग से पढ़ेंगे या इसके पार्ट ही
इसी के साथ
इसमें
पढ़ेंगे
अंदर
पैरेलली।
इसी
इसी के संग जैसे
ओके
चेंजेस आएंगे, सो वट एवर चेंज, यहाँ पे क्या होता है कि मॉड्यूलाइजेशन है, राइट? इनसाइड टीएस यू विल राइट फंक्शंस, वेरिएबल्स, क्लासेस, दैट्स इट। जो जितना भी
लाइक
बिजनेस
ये
लॉजिक,
तो ये
बोलने तो
फ्रंट
दो
एंड का
यार,
पार्ट है ना
वेट, रुक
तो
तो जाओ। इसमें जो भी पार्ट हमारा इसके अंदर जाएगा, सो इट विल रीड ऑल द लॉजिकल पार्ट, वट एवर लॉजिक यू हैव टू राइट, इट गोज इन टी एस फाइल, टाइपस्क्रिप्ट फाइल। जितना भी यूआई पे डेटा शो करना है, दैट गोज इन एचटीएमएल फाइल, एंड एचटीएमएल फाइल नीड्स सीएसएस फाइल। सो जो भी टैग हम लगाएंगे, क्लासेस बनाएंगे, वेरिएबल्स जो लुक एंड फील देंगे, वो जाएगा सीएसएस फाइल से। अब बोलो।
नहीं नहीं मैं मेरे कहने का मतलब ये वही था लाइक ये तो फ्रंट एंड का पार्ट होगा ना तो हम तो
हम्म,
HTML CSS भी इसमें
हम्म,
एक अलग लैंग्वेज है ना वो हम एक हिसाब से पर हम इसके इसमें ही पढ़ेंगे लाइक मेरे कहने का मतलब वो
हाँ यही करेंगे। अलग
था
लैंग्वेज
ओके
यही है, दिस इज द फाइल वी आर लर्निंग। ये नई लैंग्वेज तो है पूरी, अलग स्ट्रक्चर, अलग फॉर्मेट है, अलग सिंटैक्स है फाइल्स के,
जी
क्लासेस अलग है। वी सॉ क्लासेस इन जावा विच सेज पब्लिक क्लास समथिंग। सो यहाँ भी सेम है, थोड़ा सिमिलर है, और टर्मिनोलॉजी सेम है, बट द वे यू राइट इज डिफरेंट। यहाँ पे वेरिएबल बना दिया मैंने स्ट्रिंग का, दिस इज फॉर इंटीजर टाइप। आई हैवंट मेंशन कि स्ट्रिंग है ये, इंट है या नंबर है। बाय डिफॉल्ट इट कैन डिटेक्ट इट, इट हैज़ अ फीचर, इट ऑटो डिटेक्ट्स द टाइप्स।